What's up everyone, I'm Joe Bressler and I'm a filmmaker based in Brooklyn, New York. Today we're going to talk about a project that I shot recently for Complex with New York Nico to advertise a food festival that's coming to New York in May called Family Style. We shot the commercial with John, who drives a yellow cab here in New York, and Mitty, who is a musical artist, restaurateur. John's picking Mitty up for a ride and complaining about the hipster food that there is in New York. The spot ends with them parked, both enjoying some food from Family Style. In order to wrap my head around the coverage of this commercial, I used frame set to pull different shots of people riding in cars to sort of illustrate what the two shots were going to be, the shot for John and the shot for Mitty. I wanted to visually represent what each character's shot would be ahead of time, and this would allow for us to show exactly where we were going to place the camera on the day, and making a storyboard ahead of time ensured that the two angles would cut together well. Using FrameSet's library of thousands of images made this careful planning possible and allowed us to enjoy a super smooth shoot day. All right, so here we are at our first location of the day. This is Division Street in Chinatown, and this is where we shot the first shots of Mitty getting into the taxi cab with John. So here's James setting up the Burano with the Laowa 12mm. A lot of the work that I do takes place in super small spaces, so I really like wide-angle lenses. Shooting in New York, all the rooms are tiny, but in this case, just shooting in the back of the cab or shooting in the front of the cab with John, I really want to get a sense of like what the cab looks like. Like, it's kind of messy, it's got some character, it's a little beat up. Like, I want to show all that in one shot, so the Laowa 12 was the perfect lens. We shot everything with the 1/8 HBM, which is my favorite filter to kind of always leave in the matte box. It just adds just a little something to the image, a little vintage character. Sometimes you might have instances where the highlights are super hot. So when that happens, it looks sort of intentional rather than just like ugly. So it's something that I always have just as insurance to make sure that things look nice if I have to like sort of kind of clip a highlight a little bit here or there. New York. We forgot our solids, so two people donated their jackets to be negative here, and that's all we needed to make this shot of John look super nice. And now here we are getting the shot of John in the rear view mirror, and this was lit with just one Astera tube Hollywooded in. This is a prototype rig made by James Lamberg, RAC, using Irwin Blake plates that are normally used only on camera carts. Suction cup to the car, it worked really well as a car mount and kept our shots rock solid. This thing was indispensable for our day. And we shot the footage of John driving the cab for our hero angle on the 100mm DZO Vespid Prime. We rode along in the back seat for all the coverage of John in the front seat. James was pulling focus and I was just keeping an eye on things. And then Nick was in the front seat directing.
Just another day at the mayonnaise commercial factory.
Then we threw the Laowa 12 on once again to get some more funky wide-angle shots of the front of the cab as we were driving around. Because we were shooting on the 12, everything was more or less in focus, so James passed off the 7-inch in-hand unit to me, and I was able to pull iris. The lighting changes dramatically, especially in New York. There's buildings sometimes there's full sun, sometimes there's shade, so I really needed to be able to control the iris while we were moving. Last shot in the cab was this shot of the cat sandwich on the dashboard, and we used the Irwin Blake James Lamberg rig again for this, and this was a quick shot to pull off. We needed to get some shots of the taxi cab kind of driving around from the outside, and we rigged the camera to the back of the minivan. Here we are at our last location of the day, and we are in the Navy Yard in Brooklyn, which is a great place to get this kind of shot if you can get in there. And this is the shot where John turns into a foodie and they are having their lunch by the taxi cab. I did not get as much BTS of this shot, but basically all we did for this was we used a 5-in-1 reflector that I bought off Amazon, and we used that to bounce the light and create some shape on the close-ups, and for the wide angle shots we just did nothing because the direction of the sun was perfect and everything was looking good as it was, and sometimes it is good to just not overcomplicate things. So that wraps up the BTS of this very simple commercial that we shot with Nico. If you guys have any questions about anything in the video, please leave a comment down below. Yeah, see you on the next one.